Hello, my name is Nicholas Lear, and I am here on behalf of Quoque, a group of secret historians who swear their allegiance to the Knights Templar, instructed to preserve their legacy and history. Well, not quite, but we are here on behalf of our Making History project to discuss the relationship between religion and politics in medieval London. We will be focusing specifically on the church that is behind me, Temple Church. The church was the chapel which served as the London headquarters of the Knights Templar, an order that was founded in 1118 to protect pilgrims on their voyage to Jerusalem, the Holy Land. Now, the Templars, as you may know, were a secret order of knights who not only protected pilgrims but also acted as soldier monks themselves. Indeed, the Templars were suppressed in between 1307 and 1311 when the Pope and the King of France looked for someone to blame, looked for a group to blame after the siege and fall of Acre in 1291. The Temple Church, as you see it now, is a reconstruction of an older model. Indeed, during the Blitz in 1941, a firebomb destroyed a lot of what remained of the original Temple Church. But it was consecrated in 1185 by the honour of the Blessed Virgin Mary, by Heraclius, the Patriarch of Jerusalem, who indeed was a very important figure in the Knights Templar and their origins. Let's go inside and explore further. So here we are inside Temple Church. I'm going to talk a little bit about the architecture, the interior architecture of this beautiful building first. It's been described by Robert Griffiths-Jones, who's the current master of the temple since 1999, as extraordinarily ambitious, combining lavish Romanesque sculpture with some of the earliest Gothic architecture features in any English building in this period. So as you can see, I stand in the chancel, one of the two main areas of Temple Church. The chancel and the round church make up this entire place. The chancel, among other purposes, was the structure originally used for the Templar initiation ceremonies. It was indeed very important. The ceremony involved new recruits entering the temple via the western door, which is over there, which is not far from here, and then the initiates would enter the circular nave and take monastic vows of piety, chastity, poverty, and obedience, and swear their allegiance to the Templar order. Now we should take a look at the round church. Indeed, the Templar churches were always built to a round design to remind them of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem. The round church in Temple Church was consecrated in 1185 by the Patriarch of Jerusalem, and its most important role was played by its shape. Indeed, Jerusalem lies at the centre of all medieval maps in the world, and was the centre of the Crusaders' world. The most sacred place in the most sacred city was supposed to be where Jesus was buried and rose again, in the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. So modelling Temple Church in this circular design was to embellish and to replicate the holiest church in the world. And now, as we've been joined by some music in the background, we take a look at a very important feature of the Temple Church: the effigy tombs of some of the original Knights Templar. Indeed, some of these are the originals, except for the one, as you can see, on the bottom left, which is a reconstruction. Some of these effigy tombs contain some of the key figures in the Knights Templar order. For example, William Marshall, the first Earl of Pembroke, as you see on your left, who died in 1219, and later his son, William Marshall, the second Earl of Pembroke, who was a key advisor to King John amidst the crisis of the Magna Carta in 1215. As you can see here, we have more examples of the effigy tombs that were created. More importantly, casts were taken of these effigy tombs for the Great Exhibition of 1851 under Victoria and Albert. These are, of course, the original effigies, and indeed the effigy of Brother Aymeric, the master of the Order of the Temple, during the Magna Carta, who was another signatory in 1215, lies here. In fact, his name doesn't even appear in the Oxford Dictionary of National Biography, which is rather interesting considering he played such a significant role in the development of the Magna Carta. As I stand in front of the altar, it seems very fitting that we talk about the relationship between religion and politics in medieval London, focusing on this temple. Indeed, there was a great interest of the crown in this temple amidst the Templars and their reign. In England, King Henry II was probably present at the consecration of this church in 1185, and indeed King Henry III favoured the Knights Templar so much that he wanted to be buried inside this church. Eventually he wasn't buried here, he was buried in Westminster Abbey, but the very interest that the crown showed in this church shows how significant it was. So now we've left the inside of the Temple Church. Understandably, there was a ceremony about to take place. The temple is still very active and plays an active role in the local community, and also acts as the collegiate chapel of both Inner and Middle Temple, two of the ancient Inns of Court of London. It seems important, though, that we discuss the relationship between religion and politics whilst we observe the temple in the background. Indeed, in England, the master of the temple at the time of the Templars in the 12th, 13th century had a seat in Parliament. He was the primus baro, the master of the realm. Although this doesn't exist today, this shows immediately the intricate relationship between religion and politics in medieval London. And it could be argued, therefore, that the construction of religion inside politics, rather than using two separate entities, which created a dichotomy, means that religion manifested itself in many ways through political, economic, and social levels. The compound itself in Temple Church was regularly used by popes, by kings, by visitors, legates of the Pope. And indeed its importance is very highlighted by the fact that it served as an early depository bank, sometimes in defiance of the crown's wishes to seize the funds of nobles who had entrusted their wealth there. Indeed, the Templars eventually acquired great wealth, and many historians argue that this was the reason for their great downfall, the reliance on their banking and their infrastructure. But the trust that the Templars gained across Europe and in some parts of the Middle East was one of the main reasons why they were able to sustain such a great financial infrastructure. So as this documentary comes to a conclusion, we can see that the Temple Church, as it stands today, still plays a very important role in the local community, the local geography of London. If we consider its location, its proximity to the River Thames, indeed, the original temple was placed on a site in Holborn in the 1160s, but moved to here, the site that you see today, to be closer to the River Thames and also to be close to Westminster. The proximity between the church and the political hub of Westminster implies the importance of the relationship between religion and politics for the Templars and for the crown. Indeed, so the church was taken back by the crown in 1540 by Henry VIII, who abolished the knights. And indeed, as we come to a conclusion, it seems very fitting to remember the proximity and the location of Temple Church to a very legal area of London. Along Fleet Street, there is the Royal Courts of Justice, and around this area you see many barristers' chambers. So this area of London is still extremely significant. It seems very fitting, therefore, to conclude that the relationship between religion and politics in medieval London was intertwined, interconnected, so close, in fact, that they were essentially the same thing. Religion dictated politics, and religion constructed itself in politics. Remember, the temple is open, you can always visit it, and they will be very happy to see you there. We have been Quoque.